For more on CIIE, joining us in Portland, Liang Yan, Kramer Chair and Professor of Economics from Willamette University. In Beijing, Li Yong, Deputy Chairman of the Expert Committee of the China Association of International Trade. Great to have both of you. The CIIE fifth year, quite a big year, and yet, of course, there are a lot of challenges, and some could also argue opportunities. Ms. Liang, your take.
Yes, I think this is the fifth time that China hosts the CIIE. And so as the recent experience have indicated, we're expecting over 3,000 companies from more than 127 countries around the world. And so it's going to be a great event where companies could come from many different industries, including, agriculture, services, tech, and they're from all over the world, from advanced countries like the US and EU, but they're also from, least developing countries and also from Belt and Road Initiative, partnership countries. They will be here showcasing new products, new services, and new technology. It's going to be an inclusive platform that would help to promote trade and development.
Professor Li, of course, this is the fifth year of CIIE. It was quite a creation at the very beginning because this is the largest import expo ever in the world. Over the years, how much role do you think, Professor Li, it shoulders?
The past four events, expos, there are over 1,500 technologies, new products being introduced or launched during the event. And the total deal reached amounted for 270 billion US dollars. So this is going to be a very important event that will demonstrate China's position in terms of its opening up and also its role as a stabilizer in the world economy. So we can expect really a lot from this event as a continuation of China's effort to continue to open up, particularly we are talking about high quality opening up.
Exactly. How to interpret that and how will that reflected in the expo will be an interesting thing to look into. Ms. Liang, at the same time, we see that this is taking place when the German Chancellor Scholz is leading a trade delegation to China. Of course, there are a lot of issues in international trade and economic ties, but it seems that there are some positive movements.
Absolutely. I think when it comes to the high-level opening, what it really needs to work on is how it may contribute to the high-level development in China. So in other words, we wanted to have more sustainable, green, inclusive, and coordinated development. And so the opening up should serve that purpose. So one simple example is we probably won't welcome those resources intensive, environmentally unfriendly businesses. We're trying to foster, again, win-win, mutually beneficial business relationships. And so development should be inclusive and shared. So I think that has a lot of implications in terms of how we foster the deep cooperations and collaborations, not just in trade, but also in technological innovations and many other areas where China can play a leadership role in, for example, foster multilateralism.
Professor Li, what do you make of that point?
I totally agree because this year is going to mark the beginning of a new era for China, and China is going to play an increasingly important role, particularly in promoting globalization, multilateralism, and in face of the headwinds, particularly the risks of economic development. I believe China is going to play a stabilizing role, as I said earlier, and China will continue to contribute to the global economic growth. I think this visit is going to demonstrate that Europe has a lot of trade interest in China and investment interest in China, decoupling is not going to benefit anybody. So in the long run, there might be some sort of adjustment, because right now Europe is now, in a kind of has some sort of problem with the United States, particularly, they express their complaints about the Inflation Reduction Act that favors American companies only. And obviously, European companies are kind of disadvantaged, if I may say so. So they are trying to balance the global trade relations, and obviously, China is a market that they can really depend on, because China has not so far has been open and fair in terms of the market environment, and going forward, China will continue to be more friendly in terms of trade and investment with European countries.
How do you see, you know, China's willingness and others' thorough understanding of China's potential, while China's willingness to work with some concerns and also questions coming from the others, let's say business community?
I think China is very clear about what is happening within the economy and the external concerns. And if you look at the IMF report about the global economic outlook, two factors are identified. One is the real estate market, and the other is the pandemic, especially the COVID curbs. That likely will have an impact on the economic growth, and has been regarded as the cause of possible economic slowdown. But those concerns are really perspectives from outside China, but the Chinese government knows clearly what should be done, for example, to remove the immediate pressure from the real estate. And right now we have seen a lot of measures being taken, as Professor Liang mentioned earlier, and to stabilize the real estate market seems to be the short-term priority. But in the long term, I agree with Professor Liang, there will be other investment, particularly in infrastructure, different kinds of infrastructure, new infrastructures, for example, technological infrastructure, digital infrastructure, logistical infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. And all those infrastructures, I think, eventually will replace the reliance on real estate. So this is really, I think the Chinese government realizes those concerns, and in their toolbox, I think there are a lot of tools that can be used to tackle the situation. It should not be a kind of a concern.
Finally, before we go, we did notice, Professor Liang, that China has raised, of course, the Belt and Road Initiative, which has been in operation for quite some years. Meanwhile, over the years, China has also been suggesting about the GDI, Global Development Initiative. Now, how would you relate the performance of the Chinese economy with the successes of these initiatives worldwide?
Right. So I think China really contributes to the global development. On the one hand, China has the expertise and the capacity to build infrastructure. So China is very good in making these mega projects, build infrastructures, build roads, ports, and so on and so forth. So I think that really helped to extend China's industrial and construction capacity to the world. Now with the digital infrastructure, digital connections, that would definitely promote more trade, investment, and other business activities. So that would definitely help. But that said, I think a lot of developing countries now are trapped in sort of debt, and that not necessarily the fault of China, right? As we know, the Fed has been hiking interest rate, that definitely increased the debt burden on these developing countries. And China had played a pivotal role in, forgiving and also work out debt restructuring with a lot of, these countries under the G20 framework. But I do think that going forward, China needs to be more careful and more vigilant in terms of, the debt sustainability concerns and the bankable projects and how to do more inclusive, sort of assessments when it comes to social, economic, and environmental impacts. And last but not the least, I think the Global Development Initiative is a little bit different from the Belt and Road, where China is not at the center of the picture, right? China does make an important contribution, but I think there's a lot more emphasis on that sustainability and co-financing. And so I think that is a improvement on the existing projects.
Professor Li, your final take also.
I would like to relate this global development initiative to the event CIIE. I think CIIE is one of the instruments to promote global development, and China is going to play a role not just for providing supplies of trading products, but also imports a lot, and that is going to be an integral and organic part of global development, each country contributing what they can to the good of the international community.
All right, Li Yong, Liang Yan, thank you so much for joining us. All the best.